If you're a long-time friend of Bunjie, you know the history behind the ridge staging food plot, right? A nice little food plot I've got tucked in the woods. I always considered it a staging food plot, thinking deer would come in and sort of stage there before hitting the main food plots. But these days, I really don't put in as big of food plots as I used to. There was a time when I was doing over 2 acres of food plots every year. Now, I'm putting in smaller food plots, bait-sized food plots, right? To concentrate deer in an area in front of me during the crossbow seasons for a shot opportunity. The ridge staging food plot is a perfect example of that. Over the years, this area has evolved quite a bit. If you go back long enough, before Death by Bunjie, this was really just a tractor path that I brush hogged, and it was a way to get in and out of the woods, nothing more. Over time, I realized that while deer use the ridge as a travel corridor, it's not just a good place for a tree stand, but it's also a good place for a food plot. Now this year, I really didn't have an awful lot of time for food plots. In the spring, a lot of you might remember I was running for district attorney, and that was my first time ever running for something, my first time being involved in a campaign, but the spring was very busy. I didn't put out any videos. I devoted my time 100% to that campaign. And I'm happy to say it all paid off. I won, so it was definitely worth it, but I really didn't have a lot of time left over for food plots, if you know what I'm saying, right? I had broadcast some clover seeds in there in the spring, and they took off nicely like they do. I have a lot of success putting clover on the ground and growing clover food plots. I love clover food plots. The problem that I had was weeds were overtaking my food plot. So here's the ridge staging food plot, which used to be clover and now looks like clearweed, huh? Yeah. We're going to have to spray. If you look in here, there's clover. No doubt about that. There is clover in there. Oh man. Actually, there's lots of clover down in there. You know what? We'll give it a shot here. I think I'm going to go through with a sickle, with a swing blade. And I'm not going to spray this after all. I'm going to go through, knock the tops off all that stuff, and get rid of that. This is the curly dock right there, in case you're wondering. And this is your Canadian clearweed. Looks like thistles. But we're going to go through there and knock all that off. But if you look, there's lots of clover in there. Let's zoom in a little bit. That looks like clover to me. Yeah, we'll knock the tops off all this stuff with a swing blade. And then I'll go through, and right there's my bag. I've been storing that. That is potassium. It's potash. It's 21040. It's like a fertilizer. A little bit of phosphate, but a little phosphorus, but it's mostly potassium and very little nitrogen, right? Almost none. So I'll go through and spread this, and it will help boost that clover maybe if we get a rain here in the next few days. On top of that, the clover will like that and grow. The risk is, though, that clearweed and curly dock also like potassium. I don't know. They probably do because they're broadleaves, but we'll find out, right? But we'll put the rest of that fertilizer on here and see if we can salvage this plot. There's your swing blade right there. I've already put it to some good use, but look what it does. It's working pretty good. It's not the greatest tool in the world, but if you go through and just take the tops off it like that, I'm getting rid of all that clearweed, but we still got some happy clover. By the end of the summer, by the time fall rolls around, that plot looked pretty good. Now, the other problem that I have here going into the fall is I don't have a lot of time to hunt. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me talk about that this year, but with that election, it means that I'm going to be the district attorney of my home county, a job that I consider my dream job, a job I take very, very seriously, and it takes up a lot of my time. I know it's a big challenge ahead for me professionally. It's a lot of work. And to get a jump start on that work, I've actually taken a job in my county's district attorney's office as an assistant district attorney. Pretty much in October and November, I only have Saturdays to hunt. And some of those Saturdays I was even working, so I didn't even have those Saturdays to hunt. November 4th, 2023. Crisp, cool November air. There is no way that I am missing that day in the Crossbow woods. I am in the tree stand, waiting for the sun to come up, waiting for the woods to come alive around me in the kingdom of Bunjie. The kingdom of Bunjie is my home where I grew up. I grew up on this property, grew up hunting in these woods, so it's very dear to me. Now this is November 4th. This is prime time for us as crossbow hunters in northeastern Pennsylvania. That's a fact. It's just a banner day in the woods. But I had no company, nobody coming in to visit. Finally, around 10 o'clock in the morning, I hear some leaves moving. I love that sound. Love the sound of those leaves. I do. I hear some leaves moving up in the wood lot up in front of me, and sure enough, 2 does are coming to the food plot. Now, one of the does is a fawn. She comes in and starts eating. The other doe, a more mature doe, milling around in the background. Genevieve, my daughter, had been out here and she had hunted this tree stand a couple of times and hadn't seen anything, hadn't taken any shots or anything like that. But it's possible that these does are a little bit nervous about her being in the area as well. Deer behavior, I've got another video coming on that down the road. Watch this doe fawn as she is looking off to my right. Now, at first, I'm a little bit concerned. Is she kind of looking at me? You never know because they've got the eyes on the sides of their heads and all that sort of thing. But her ears tell the story. Her ears are focused on where she's looking, and that is straight off to my right, right down the ridge at the bottom of the ridge. That tells me, get ready, we've got more company coming. I can hear the leaves off to my right. I real carefully turn the camera in case there's some action. And sure enough, it's a nice buck coming up. I gotta be real careful here. I don't want the buck to see me move. I don't want the doe fawn or the other doe who's milling around somewhere. I don't want any of these deer to see me move. That buck doesn't care. He's heading into that food plot. He's following that young doe. It's a perfect shot. That 500 grain dragon claw arrow has no problem traveling at 350 feet per second or so, pushing that 3-inch Swahacker broadhead right through both shoulders of that buck. That is crossbow perfection. Did you see that? Can you believe it? I decided today, November 4th, right? We all know what that means. That's the day you go hunt deer, right? That's the day the rut is in action. That's the day that a big buck, who isn't normally on this property, is going to make his way through here and make his way up that little trail and go into that little food plot right there, because there's a doe there and there's another doe up on the hill, and they're both out there near that food plot. And I've got the food plot there as bait, and I've got a doe eating the food plot as further bait for the big buck to come up here. And he comes up and makes his way in there. There's a doe up there still. I'm not going to shoot her, but let's look at her. She's checking out that dead buck. That's what she's doing. She was up there on that ridge when I shot that buck, and she heard all the commotion. She saw him run off. She might be interested, who knows? I'm not going to take another shot. There's been times when I would be cocking the crossbow right now and getting ready to take another shot, but I think the SWAT X1 and the Swahacker and the dragon claw arrows have already gotten a workout today, and I think we should be happy with what we've accomplished. I am the luckiest guy on earth. Let's go tell Genevieve. Have her come in here and help me get that out of here. She's still milling around up there. I got down from the tree stand and she's still up in here milling around. The rut is the most magical time of year in the whitetail woods, isn't it? I mean, the bucks lose their mind, you know, looking for girls and all that. But even the does lose their mind. They make bad decisions. Holy cow. Just crazy. Take a look at what we're doing here. I'm sitting up here in a tree stand, right? Just now. And he came up And down here in the swamp, way down here, probably spent the night down there, and he came up through here, and he was coming up this little path here, right? And he made it up his way up through here, and I saw him down there. The doe, the first doe fawn that was up in here, was looking down over there, and she's like, oh, what's going on? Somebody else is coming. I couldn't hear him. Leaves are a little crunchy. Eventually I heard the leaves, and sure enough, he's down in there. And I saw, you know, I knew it was a deer. I didn't know what it was, but I sensed it was probably a buck coming up to check on these does, because that's what they do. They make their way up this ridge this time of year to see what the does are doing off this bedding area up here. So he's coming up out of the swamp there, makes his way up through, and give me a shot. All right, there's the stand. It's a Walmart stand, what that's worth. Cheapest stands I could find. But certainly did the job. Now, take a quick look at Foodplot here. We have a little clover and some throw and grow. Look at how all that throw and grow came in at the bottom here. That was an attempt to salvage it as after my clover got kind of washed out. But you can see, got some curly dock, right? Curly dock, little clover. And I top seeded it with that ryegrass mixture. Let's see where that buck was. Not where he is, but look at all this clover. Boy, that's doing good. Doing pretty good. Here we got some big old footprints. Look at that. Big old footprints. Where is our site of impact here? Probably right about here. I'm thinking this is where that footprint is probably where he got hit. Nope, right up here. Oh, this is what we're looking for. Look at that. That's where he turfed it out of here. Look at that. And that is one beautiful, beautiful arrow. Look at that. The Coyote Luminok. Well lit. The Dragon Claw arrow covered in blood. The Swahacker. I am using 2 bands on those just because I've been sitting on the ground in the rain and I don't want them to be deteriorating and having problems. So I use 2 bands, no big whoop. So from right here, the scene of impact, we're looking to there is our tree stand across the food plot. A little bit of blood right here on this log. Let's track our deer. A little bit more blood on our log. I love blood on logs and trees and such. It won't be a hard track job because he's right there. So do appreciate you coming down to help.
Yeah.
Over there.
Oh. I thought it was a dog. Oh. Okay.
I was standing in line at the dandy today, and I heard this woman in front of me say, feel sorry for me, 'cause I can't pay my bills, and my husband's no help, you know he's drunk to the gills. You weren't born and dead or addicted to booze. Each of these problems is something you choose. You can make life harder than it has to be, but it's time to take responsibility. Life is easy. I said life is easy. Life is so easy. Life is easy. Don't make it hard.
I gotta tell you, this crossbow and scope combination is crossbow perfection, and I am not exaggerating at all. 2 days hunting, $2. What more do you want, right? Perfect shots. The equipment really has a lot to do with it, and I promise you that there are videos coming on both the scope and this crossbow very soon. My thoughts now that I've had an opportunity to use both of them together even over the course of an entire season. And I was gonna put that video out now, but
then we went and shot that buck and we had to make this video. So those videos are coming because I'm all out of buck tags. So until that next video, all hail Bunjie.